St. Patrick's Day, you big booze bag. If you're not already hungover, well, you failed. But don't worry, you've probably been so bewitched by the hip new Obamacare ads. Even if you're pasty as a bag of wet sand in the morning, you can go see the doctor for free, or something like that. The White House, in its eternal quest for hipness, has stumbled upon some groundbreaking gifts that are certain to have those undecided fickle millennials stampeding for exchanges. We'll show you the embarrassing bracket in a bit. So if you're cramping over waning freedom in Crimea, or if you have missing plane fatigue, fear not. You're in good company because we're in the mood to make fun of everything tonight. This is the Independents. Hi there, I'm Kennedy. I will be doing the second half of the show in a really bad Irish accent. I'm joined tonight by Reason Magazine editor-in-chief Matt Welch, who is wearing a green tie.
It's self-defense.
It's a good idea. And Camille Foster from Free Think Media. I don't see any green on him. He's going to get pinched. Together we are the Independents. Oh, look at that sweetness. Well, let's bring on our party panel, and the night will unfold as it will. With us, comedian Paul Mercurio. He's the host of The Paul Mercurio Show on iTunes. Well named, Paul.
There's a big research done on that name. We tried different names. And
you floated some ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a good one. Very solid. And Rich Benjamin, he's a senior fellow at Demos, and he's a senior partier on the Independents, at least tonight. Welcome back, Rich.
Good to be here,
Welcome
Kennedy.
back, both of you. Yes, you got the green tie, too.
I
I
do.
got nothing. I'm sorry.
What happened? Are you just
Can I get one of your earrings? I'll wear that.
Yes. Do you have a pierced ear? Trust me, by the after show, you're going to be wearing a lot more than my jewelry.
All right.
It's going to be good. Don't worry. So what is this godforsaken bracket you've been hearing about? No, it's not the fruit of Selection Sunday. That happened yesterday. Go Bruins! Yes, fourth seed. I will control myself. It's another embarrassing grasp at futile youth on the part of the White House. They're pulling out all the stops to get those damn kids to sign up for insurance so the healthy and hardy can pay for the money pits commonly referred to as old sick people. But try not to fall asleep as these two men, perhaps the most boring on earth, two NCAA coaches, try to convince you to sign up for Obamacare.
We know what you're up to right now. You're filling out your brackets and getting ready to watch some nonstop basketball madness.
But we've got a different bracket we want you to check out. It's got the sweet 16 reasons
you should sign up for health insurance.
What are the sweet 16 reasons I can take my own life? Because by gum, that will drive me into the hereafter just thinking about it. You know, I love basketball. I really do. But just seeing those people makes me shrivel in places that should be blossoming. And here's one of the gifts that keeps on giving. Why should you sign up for the exchange? Disco ducks. Oh, look at those little fellas. Oh. Well, I'm so excited. Maybe you shouldn't be. If you're old enough to have sex, you should get a job to pay for birth control. Birth control is free, right? And here's another one. Insurance companies can't discriminate. Oh, there it is. Yeah, they should. Look at this guy. I should be paying for his insurance.
That's right.
For that sort of non-Olympic jackassery. Yeah, insurance companies can't discriminate, which is great because you're healthy as a horse. You're going to be paying the same amount of insurance. That's so unfair. Welcome to equality. That's what it looks like. Okay, here's another one. Insurance companies are accountable to you. What a solid selling point. It's as uninteresting as it is unconvincing. No wonder over a third of uninsured people refuse to sign up for Obamacare. Here's another one. It'll give your mom peace of mind. Well, that's weird because my mom is never at peace when she knows the government is doing whatever they can to play the generational shell game. Just like with every other entitlement, the younger the voter, the more to lose. Oh, how tranquil. You only YOLO once, yo. Yeah, check that out. Do you know what YOLO means? It's a rallying cry for danger, throwing caution to the wind, being risky and stupid. Get 8 hours of sleep, because YOLO. Make sure you sit up straight and get enough vitamin D, because, hey, YOLO. What the hell is wrong with these people? All right, so, panel, what does this inane bracket say about the future of healthcare in this country?
It's a mess. I mean, first of all, it's nice to see that, the Obama administration, while not successful at getting this Obamacare launched properly, is successful at making 80s SNL sketches that are bad again, right? First of all, is John Tesh back working again with that background music? But here's the thing that's most upsetting. He's doing this. He's going on Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. This is like, can you imagine if FDR did this for the New Deal? He hangs out with Curly from the Three Stooges and get whacked in the face with a pie to sell it. Like, is there no dignity left
With
to our
his own
administration?
No, that's a good point. There really isn't. I mean, should there be?
They want to go to every single place in America where we actually like to have fun away from the government. Everyone wants to fill out their dumb brackets. Let's go infect that. Everyone wants to watch the Super Bowl or Zach Galifianakis or even try to pronounce his name. Let's go and try to infiltrate that. And it's still not going to work. So they're just going to manage to ruin everything we like and then still not work.
It's propaganda.
Well, they've succeeded in turning whitehouse.gov into buzzworthy, which is a noble thing for them to have accomplished.
But does it translate into?
But
signups?
unfortunately for them, the healthcare legislation is a miserable failure by its own terms. I mean, there are 43 million uninsured people in the United States prior to this piece of legislation passing. 4.6 million have signed up for coverage. People don't apparently want this. A massive reworking of the healthcare system, and folks are not signing up for it.
Now, Rich, I know that you love the president. You are a defender of the ACA. You think that it is a very necessary thing, and I think you have bold and noble ideals. I really do. But on some level, it's a failure, and they're not going to get the number of people they need to sign up by March 31st, which is going to make it even more expensive for the people who have signed up, especially next year.
First of all, I'm glad you never had me here to defend Pajama Boy. This is a huge improvement on Pajama Boy.
Okay.
And
I will do that.
40% more visitors today because of this. And you know, the
But
president's got
visitors
to...
also don't translate into people who are signing
Fair enough,
up.
but this has to be a counterpunch to all the propaganda that's going across all the states that are advertising in the 2014 election cycle against Obamacare. So he really had no choice.
I
He
do
should have done
accept
it
that
sooner, if anything. He should have advertised for this sooner than later.
It doesn't feel like it's addressing propaganda. It's like literally reminding people to sign up for healthcare, which is a little disconcerting. Do people not know? Like, are terminally ill people going, "Oh, right, healthcare. Thanks, basketball coaches."
Darn
like,
it.
you know what I mean?
Because
like,
of the
Gosh, yeah,
disinformation?
no, it's-
Sure. People need to be informed.
People aren't
There's
that
been so much
stupid that they have to
disinformation.
have the government remind them
Right.
to do every little thing.
No, it's not just a reminder. It's a counterpunch against the disinformation that's gone against this man's program in Michigan.
Okay,
in South
if there
Carolina,
is that
against all
lack
the
of
super
information,
PACs.
as you say, I trust that people are smart enough to rise to the BS, look around, see all these people squabbling, look past it and see, wow, that new insurance sucks.
Yeah.
No, a few ads can't hurt. A few ads can't hurt. And it's not
But
just...
this is not a few ads. I mean, this is a full court press with guys like LeBron James and Zach
Yeah, wonderful.
Galifianakis
Yeah.
pitching in to help sell this program, and they are not doing it effectively. It's just not
Maybe
happening,
if they had-
which suggests that there's probably
there's
more
LeBron
going on
himself.
here
Look
than,
at the
than just the
chin strap.
advertising.
I love your receding
is the
hairline,
president
LeBron.
of-
I think it's very sexy. We're gonna switch gears a little bit because this is just too depressing. So let's turn to some happy news. Crimea became all Russian over the weekend. Are Khrushchev and Catherine the Great high-fiving each other in purgatory? See how I did that because I didn't say hell, because I'm a believer and an optimist. The U.S. and the EU say they won't recognize Russia's bastard child, and oddly enough, this Sunday's referendum didn't include the choice for Crimeans to stay with Ukraine. Is this really free will manifest? Is this Crimea choosing their own destiny when
can't
given
be.
such limited choices?
It can't be. I mean, it's entirely possible that Crimea would have voted for the same thing if they held this referendum, a year ago or 2 years ago. It wouldn't have been 95%. Nothing in life is 95%. I mean, there's nothing more sort of motivating when it's the Russian government that held this referendum
with
and
tanks
said,
and
"Hey,
guns
you should
and
maybe
bombs
vote this
in your
way."
neighborhood.
So-
But Kim Jong-un is saying like, yes, I got 100% facial, Vladimir. Thanks for all the weapons, by the way.
Yeah, so it's going to be very difficult to figure out what to do next in the international community because you don't want to recognize this thing, and I don't think people will be recognizing it, but there's not a lot to do to recognize.
Unput the toothpaste in the horse.
Especially when we consider that basically you're dealing with mobsters over there, and they were talking about the sanctions that they put in, today were basically like, you can't travel and you can't buy things. Like, do they think it's still a blue jean-based economy in Russia? It's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And the guy's a mobster. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's like sort of, fining Don Corleone $100 for animal cruelty to animals. It's sort of it's light, and it's a question of do you go in? And
It's light, but there are no tidy solutions here. I mean, if you went in militarily, there are all sorts of unfortunate things
You're
that could
hosed.
happen. happen related to that. The best thing to do,
And poor
keep a
Ukraine gave
distance,
up their
keep a
nukes.
distance and let this play out. This is roiling the financial markets. Russia is feeling the brunt of
getting
this.
hammered.
And it's happening despite the fact that the sanctions, as you acknowledged,
Right.
are ineffective.
because-
There
All
are
right,
natural things that happen.
we have to go. We're up against a hard break. Tana, I want you to come back so we can talk about how fun it is to be drunk in New York City on St. Patrick's Day. Can you do that?
Absolutely.
can
One
do that.
heavy topic to another.
We will
That's
be
what we do.
drinking in the meantime.
Very good. All right. Not alcohol. Don't worry. We're very responsible here. And who knew a light interview with the former reality star would unleash an unholy poop storm? Her publicist, that too. The vaccine genie is out of the bottle. Did I rub Kristen Cavallari the wrong way? Okay. Are you opposed to vaccines?
Oh, we didn't vaccinate.
Really? You're one of those communists?
You know what? I read too many books about autism.
Well, hello. Welcome back to the Independents. An interview I did last week with former Laguna Beach star Kristen Cavallari blew up into a much bigger story. Since our last cultural go-round with vaccines and autism, the coverage has been overwhelmingly polarized. Take a look at what started it all. Are you opposed to vaccines?
Oh, we didn't vaccinate.
Really? You're one of those communists?
You know what? I read too many books about autism and the studies.
There's no link. Read the links that say that autism and vaccines have no correlation.
Okay, well, say this. There is a pediatric group called Homestead, or Homestead or Home First. Now I'm pregnancy brain, I'm gonna confuse them. But they've never vaccinated any of their children, and they haven't had one case of autism. And now 1 in 88 boys is autistic, which is a really scary
My
statistic.
mom vaccinated us, and she doesn't have any cases of autism either. Isn't that weird?
The vaccinations have changed over the years. There's more mercury.
Hi, we were just commenting and saying mean things, but wow. Well, not long after my interview, the rest of the media jumped all over the story. ABC News said actress, that's funny, Kristen Cavallari ignites vaccine. Autism firestorm. The Huffington Post wrote, Kristen Cavallari, I've read too many books to vaccinate my child. Us Weekly, Kristen Cavallari didn't vaccinate son Camden. Fears autism. Kristen later tweeted out links to an anti-vaccine website and said, quote, that's all I'm saying on this matter. We will never all agree. I have my reasons and you have yours. End of story. Yeah, but the weird thing is it's really not the end of the story, and a lot of parents have some really strong views since we have seen outbreaks of diseases once thought eradicated, like, I don't know, measles. Has the tide against these anti-vaccinators turned?
No, I don't think so. The founding sort of myth that Jenny McCarthy and Kristen Cavallari talked about is the link between vaccines and autism. There was an original study that was done
In 1998.
In 1998. It's been totally refuted by everyone. There was a guy who was a fraudster. There is no link. This has been studied 1 trillion times, literally 1 trillion times. That's fact. There is no link. However, there's more autism than there used to be, so people are still searching for an explanation. That is one set of things. Another set of things is just that the amount of mandatory vaccinations that you have to have before your kids enter usually preschool or any kind of public school or a publicly licensed nursery school, the amount of those have increased a lot over the last few years, including for things like hepatitis B, which is kind of an unusual thing for a 5-year-old to contract at any moment. So there's a whole movement of people who say that they don't want to do what the government is telling them to do. We had, at Reason Magazine, we had a cover of where we put Jenny McCarthy on the cover, and I got more hate mail than anything that we've done.
Because you said she was an enemy of freedom.
I called her one of the 45 enemies of freedom because she's spreading this vaccine myth. But meanwhile, there's all of these principled anti-vaccination people who are saying, hey, look, some of these vaccines work, others do not. And so we had a big
Okay,
forum.
now I will say this about the people who are anti-vaccine. Most of them tend to be really well-read, rational people who do things like attachment parenting and breastfeeding for a long time because they want what's best for their kids. And I have a lot of sympathy for parents like that. I understand that you are not being an evil, malicious person. Your intent is certainly not to harm your child. But unfortunately, if we don't reach this herd immunity, which is something I realize libertarians hate the idea of something like groupthink or anything that has to do with a herd. But just because a lot of people do it doesn't mean it's wrong. Of course, you should have the right to vaccinate your child. You should do it because it's a good thing to do, not because the government is forcing forcing you to do it. And let me tell you something. People with newborn babies, 4-week-old babies, who are they are subjected to measles from their child who contracts it from one of these non-vaccinated kids at a preschool, and they get very sick, hospitalized, or die in certain cases. That is unconscionable. Read the science. It's not science. It's actual science. Read the literature, and I guarantee you, you will have a different perspective. Open your mind as the debate has been opened.
Amen.
Hi. Other than that, no, we have to go again. But I have strong feelings about it, as you do, okay? Very good. We can have it both ways. But just vaccinate your kids. Oh, good. The co-founder of Reddit is here to teach you how to be an internet billionaire. And earlier today, I braved the sea of drunkards and puddles of vomit to bring you this.
Let me ask you, okay, how do you feel about the referendum in Crimea?
Wait, what's that? Say what?
Exactly.
That your love is cruel. I learned the hard way, baby. Be your fool.
Without that permission, woo, as if he needs more money. This is the Independents, where we will venture into your capital any chance we get. Reddit is a cultural sensation which sprung from the brains of 2 UVA students who sold their company for millions in 2006. Internet entrepreneur Alexis Ohanian. He's here. He's the co-founder of Reddit, and he joins us to sprinkle some magic dust on your keyboard so you too can become an internet bazillionaire. He is the author of this book, Without Their Permission. It's his first memoir. He's been named on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, but sadly, that's his free throw percentage. Welcome, Alexis.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So this book is it's fascinating, and you document not only the rise of your career and the current digital scape, but also what I like about it is you kind of tell people this is what you have to do if you are going to get your content discovered, if you are going to engage in that great digital democracy.
You know, Steve Huffman and I got to live the American dream thanks to the open
was your
internet.
co-founder.
Steve Huffman was a co-founder from UVA. Wahoo Wah, also. Take that, Duke. We got the chance to do this with nothing more than a couple of laptops. We had 12 grand in the bank in funding, and now it's a top 50 website. But I wanted to make the blueprint so that everyone else could do the same, and in fact, even bigger than what we were able to pull off.
And you're doing the same. I mean, you have invested in other companies.
Yeah, about 100.
Does having some success give you a better eye for these things, or is it still throwing spaghetti at the wall?
I've never, have I actually thrown spaghetti at the wall? It is, I'd say I have better than average eyesight when it comes to identifying early stage companies. The thing is, I've invested about 100 of them now. At that earliest stage, it really is a couple of founders, a really, really rudimentary prototype, and a little bit of traction. So you really have not a lot to go off of. But 6 years into investing, I'm doing pretty well so far. So knock on glass, it'll keep up.
And then that's how you stay lucky.
Now, I wonder if we could talk a little bit about your feelings about copyright and the need to protect copyright, especially for software companies. We've got Pirate Bay, but then we see SOPA and PIPA, legislation like that, which threatens internet freedom. Is that something you're concerned about?
Very much so. This is something, I joined the fight against SOPA and PIPA. I left Hitmonk, which is another startup I helped start, and got involved.
That's the travel website.
With the adorable
Sweet,
mascot,
yeah.
yes, thank you. And I went to spend all my time actually lobbying in DC, talking about why SOPA and PIPA were such bad bills. And the fact is, piracy is a service problem. That year, Hollywood spent about $94 million.
Explain what that means.
Piracy as a service problem is an idea actually coined by Gabe Newell, a CEO of a successful game company, saying that basically the reason piracy exists is because people have such a difficult time getting access to the content that they have to go through the process of pirating. And so if you want to win, you can look to Netflix, you can look to Steam in terms of gaming, you can look to iTunes.
They're
Technology
teaching
is what
abstinence when
wins.
they should be handing out condoms.
Or at least, to some extent, basically, yeah.
I think that's fair.
The
I like
market is, piracy is a response from the market because there isn't a good enough way to get the content we want. So many of us think about how we end up watching Game of Thrones, for instance. There's so much content that we have to jump through so many hoops for that so many consumers are willing to pay for, assuming businesses are willing to step up. And the ones that do are already making a lot of money.
If you got an invitation to the Red Wedding, would you have gone?
Absolutely not. Well, I guess it depended which. I'd like to think, I guess I would have been House of Stark. Well,
Well,
did
yeah,
not
I don't
go
think you want to
well.
be them.
Yeah, not during that wedding.
Unfortunately.
You talk a lot about kind of removing gatekeepers and enabling the kind of bottom-up growth of things, and you actually succeeded, or you're part of the successful attack against SOPA and PIPA. Do you see the gatekeepers being removable when it comes to politics, which has a guaranteed revenue stream, and governance, which also has a guaranteed revenue stream?
You know, this is something that's really intrigued me, and I don't know if there's going to be a second book, but it's something that's really interested me, because we live in a time when technology is solving a lot of problems in the private sector, and government is still kind of taking baby steps. There's a lot of off-the-shelf technology we could be using right now to make our government more accountable and more transparent. And those are two things I don't think we have yet to see any real major steps on, but I think it could happen. I mean, I think there is always, I really do believe there's always going to be a role for government. I think it needs to be a much more efficient one, and I think we're already seeing examples. There's a startup called CrowdTilt that's letting individuals in a community pool money to do everything from fix potholes to rebuild parks.
Oh, I love it. Okay, now last question very quickly. Digital divide. Do you think that it's a good idea for Facebook to be sending drones loaded with technology and computers to Africa?
I didn't realize this was on Mark's plan for world domination.
Yes.
I will say this.
Drones!
I will say this. You know, when Bezos came out with that announcement that Amazon would be shipping via drone, I actually got kind of excited. I think we are just scratching the surface of what the potential of the software, the sort of commercial drone industry is capable of. And I'm not quite ready for a pizza to show up via drone, but I think in another few years, it's actually going to happen.
All right. Well, Alexis, thank you very much again. The book, Without Their Permission. And thank you for granting us permission to have a lovely conversation.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right. Are you going to be here for the after show? Put you on the spot.
Well,
sure
when
you
is the
will.
after show?
It's at 10 exactly.
Is there going to be Guinness?
Yes, it will.
Yes. All right.
It begins at 10 o'clock,
All
7
right.
Central.
All right, let's hang out at the after
Or 7 Western. What? Pacific. Whatever. Why you guys got to be fronting? Okay, we'll talk to you in a bit. It'll be great.
Thank you.
All right, one politician whose slogan is, I want gay married couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. Oh, we got him. He sounds like a live one. And up next, Dianne Feinstein is being hunted by drones in her own house. See you in a minute. This is the Independents, where when news explodes, we throw a blanket over it and sing its show tunes. This is the Topical Storm. Topic number 1. Senate Intelligence Committee Chairwoman Dianne Feinstein is not only the world's #1 NSA apologist, she's also nuttier than squirrel turds and possibly losing her mind. I don't know if Di-Fi's pearls were strung too tight, but recently she claimed she was being hunted by drones during a protest that took place in front of her house. They were drones! This after she claimed the CIA was sneaking saltpeter into her Wheaties and spying on the Intelligence Committee. She was almost
I'm in my home, and there's a demonstration out front, and I go to peek out the window, and there's a drone facing me.
Yeah, that's so funny. God, that's just great. How rich. That guy's an ass, and she's out of her mind.
She's tripping. I mean, the last 2 weeks in Di-Fi's life have been a little bit different than the previous, 143 years that she's been on this earth.
That's right.
Unless she changes her perspective on a few issues, I think
Yeah.
she's in danger of being called a hypocrite. Just maybe, worrying about her
Slightly
privacy.
in danger.
Just a
That's
little
right.
bit.
That's funny.
Or maybe she's talked herself in a way to suddenly not be a total monster when it comes to civil liberties by pretending that everybody is spying
They
on her.
nearly vaporized me.
Yeah, only her, not us.
In the cellar. I looked outside, and they were drones driven by aliens with little CIA gloves and everything. Okay, Diane. Topic number 2. Who knew Ted Cruz was so ripped and edgy? A series of billboards popped up in L.A. showing the mercurial Texas senator posing shirtless with tousled hair, a majestic eagle tattooed over his rippling pecs, and even his last name emblazoned on his tummy. He was also shown smoking a cigarette, which prompted a funny tweet from Senator Green Eggs. It read, saw this, but noticed an error, so I wanted to make one thing clear. I don't smoke cigarettes. That part is clearly photoshopped, but the rest of it is all body by God. Thank you, Lord.
This is the only way Ted Cruz will ever get a vote from a Democrat in his entire life, probably.
Looking like that.
Looking like that.
All
Looking
good. Running around
pretty ripped,
shirtless
yeah.
with a motorcycle helmet and cruise.
You think that little of Democrats, Matt? Is that right?
I think that much of Democrats. I'd vote for that guy. What's wrong with you?
You'd move to Texas to be with that guy.
This moment is the only moment that I've liked Ted Cruz.
Wow, you're
there.
saying that.
No, that poster is a little
dear
endearing.
Ted Cruz, please don't ever come on the Independents. Love Matt Welch. Yeah, very good. No wonder our bookers are having such a hard time. Okay. Topic number 3, a man in Wenatchee, Washington was pleased when he saw the big tree in the front yard of his new house. It meant he could fulfill a childhood dream for his sons and build them a tree house. So he did, because he's an industrious fellow, but he's surrounded by nosy commies. And now those fun-hating pinkos want to tear down the arboreal paradise or make him get a $1 million insurance policy since the city is determined it hangs over the sidewalk. He should do it. He should totally get the policy, then charge homeless people room and board and let them squat there. Over buckets right on the sidewalk. Why are these torturous municipalities so hard on those trying to have a little bit of fun?
That's just from my yard in this country. Why would you own a house anywhere? Why would you own property? I don't understand.
Yeah, why not just wrap yourself in a solar blanket and sleep in the grass?
Thank you. Every time you try to own property in a place like New York or LA or wherever you live,
Wenatchee.
It's people telling you what you can and can't do. It's
Don't tell me
infuriating.
my business, Wenatchee. By the way, that town name sounds dirty. Wenatchee. Hit him right in the Wenatchee. That sounds like where Sasquatchy would like to hang out in Wenatchee. I've lost my mind. I'm totally Dianne Feinstein myself, and I apologize in advance and for the present moment. Topic number 4. Well, this scared the bejesus out of me. A 4.4 earthquake. It shook the sacred earth underneath my beloved Westwood. My girls slept through it. And it's just one of many natural disasters that plague that part of the world. Luckily, a Fox station was live on the air with the morning news to document the ordeal as it happened.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right, that's an earthquake.
That is an earthquake. One of my very favorite things about LA is the live reaction to quakes. I know, I'm such a sadist when it comes to this. The best was a guy named Kent Shockneck.
Kent Aftershock.
Yes, he
Damn well
dove
right.
under his desk. Oh, I love it. So we'll put it up on the website, but the Kent Shockneck earthquake reaction is priceless. An LA City Council meeting, then Councilmember Dennis Zine screamed in the middle of the meeting, "Earthquake! Earthquake!" It's like, wow, thanks, genius.
But diving under the desk is the right thing to do, isn't
It's just funny to see I mean, everyone is scared in that moment. And, you know, it's like in a horror movie. If someone can really act out that moment of fear, because it's that primal fear that strikes you, and you try so hard to compose yourself when you're really kind of tinkling in your pants a little bit.
The best thing are the emails from friends saying, "I didn't feel it, I was driving, damn."
Yeah. Shoot, man. All right, well, I hit the streets looking for booze hounds at the New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade. Did I find any? Take a guess. And meet the politician who wants gay married people to protect their pot plants with their guns. This is The Independents. This is The Independents, and this is glorious. We heard a rumor that a young whippersnapper in Canada was creating quite a stir with a campaign ad. He's running for Parliament. It's not a cigarette, it's like their Congress up there. Tim Mullen came up with this slogan. It reads, "I want married gay couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns." He sounds awesome. A perfect St. Patrick's Day party. Welcome to The Independents.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, Dreamboat. So tell me, what does it mean to be a libertarian in Canada, and how is that different from the American libertarian experience?
Well, you know, I'm just finding that out. I thought I might be the only one in Canada, but it turns out there's a whole lot of us. You know, I raised my voice a couple weeks ago with that meme, and it kind of went viral. And I'm finding out there's all sorts of libertarians out there. It sounds like people are ready for the message of liberty in Canada.
Absolutely, and Canada, and Matt can point this out with mathematics, which will soon be a segment here on the Independents. It is becoming a much freer place than these United States. I mean, you have the Supreme Court has decided on health care, your dollar is doing much stronger, and people seem to be embracing economic liberty. Are they ready to embrace a libertarian parliamentarian?
Well, that remains to be seen. You know, my goal here is not so much to get votes as it is to connect with hearts and minds and just deliver a message. This is kind of an outreach program is how it started. You know, some people approached me and said, look at all the things that Ron Paul did for the liberty movement in the United States. And they convinced me that I should put my name forward. And so I did. And so now we're finding out. Whether people are ready for a parliamentarian that's libertarian, I'm not sure yet, but you know, this riding is one of the most important ridings in North America. We're at the epicenter of the oil sands production, and of course, that makes us at the epicenter of all sorts of political ideologies, all sorts of people wanting to have power over this resource. So, you know, on one hand, we have kind of the corporatist oligarchies competing with the socialists, and I look at them as one end of the spectrum, and there hasn't really been a voice for liberty. And libertarianism has a lot to say about environmentalism and land stewardship and how to steward this resource properly and look at you know, for example, Aboriginal peoples and the fact that they're having their property rights trampled on. So, you know, I think we have a lot to say, and I think that the world's attention is on our riding right now, and it's important that the message of liberty be spoken up there.
Let's talk about that slogan because it distills so much in so few words. How long did it take you to write this wonderful statement?
You know, I can't actually take credit for it. Someone on my campaign team found that on the internet somewhere. I'm not sure who came up with it originally, and I thought, that's perfect. That exactly sums up what we're trying to do in a very short sentence. You know, it both pisses off conservatives and liberals equally, and it draws them in equally. There's a message there for everyone. And, you know, that's kind of where we see our strength. We're not partisan. We're for civil liberties. We're for the individual. We're not for conservatives. We're not for liberals. We're for the individual. So that's who we're fighting for here.
In the United States, protracted military conflicts, NSA spying, and a lot of spending are all animating this organic libertarian energy. What do you think you'll need for things to really catch on in the United States? I'm sorry, in Canada.
Or in the United States. Hell, I love his ideas to catch on here.
Romania,
Tim?
whatever.
Well, you know, a lot of the things that I think are attracting people to this message right now is the incredible amount of wealth that my community generates. And the people come from all over the world to dig in the dirt and develop a resource that's important to the world and brings value to the world. And they're getting trampled on constantly by environmentalists and political ideologues. And a lot of their wealth goes to other provinces, have-not provinces. And people are kind of tired of having this high tax rate and having all the work that they do go to support people living off the means of their production.
All right. Well, Tim, we will be following your race. This is obviously the beginning of something big and hopefully very popular in Canada, and best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Tim Moen. Hot. All right. St. Patrick's Day brings out the animals, and New York City may as well be a zoo. I tried to tame them, but they just wanted to yell and punch our cameraman in the nuts. Oh, St. Patrick, you siren of whiskey and chaos.
I've got a crowd of behind me. I didn't think we'd be able to find them in New York City, but look, in droves. It's like our own mini riot. They'll follow us anywhere.
He's got the pages in his pockets getting ripped out of the bottom of the motel. Walks apart with his traitors, gets chased out from the temple.
Welcome back to the Independents. How are you celebrating St. Patrick's Day? Hopefully with a little more self-control than the delighted drunks I ran into along the route of today's St. Patrick's Day parade.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to all the St. Patricks.
Who is St. Patrick?
Who is St. Patrick? I have no clue.
I don't know. He was an Irish guy. Because he created this holiday where all of us Americans get to come together and we're united.
He was a saint from Ireland. Come on, everyone knows that.
St. Patrick is my best friend, honestly. We grew up together.
Did you win the Masters?
Most likely.
Let's go!
You win!
It's St. Patrick's Day!
I love St. St. Patrick's Day! I'm gonna hit myself in the face! I love you, Mom! I love you! We find drunk girls! We totally found them!
Yeah! This is gonna go to O'Reilly?
Yes! I love you! Yes! How do you deal with all the moronic drunks out today?
We don't, we join them.
You cannot have St. Patrick's Day without a street full of pipers. I'm going to say that right now. Piper down! Piper down! I love New York! Hi, Mom! Tune out for transfer, spring break! Oh, I bet your mom's so proud. Where do you live? I live in Jersey! Who's St. Patrick?
I don't know.
Who is St. Patrick?
There's a guy there, Dave. And what was it? Slimish, Shepherd and Slimish.
So show me your body condom. Wow!
You like my beard?
Yeah, it reminds me of Matt Welch.
Matt Welsh? Who's Matt Welsh?
I ask myself that every day. Well, if you don't mind sidestepping to vomit and losing part of your hearing from drunk girls screaming right at your head, you can have a lot of fun in New York on St. Patrick's Day. Back to you in the studio. Well, thank you for that great report.
Wow.
I enjoyed it very much, madam. We're rejoined by Paulo Mercurio and Rich McBenjamin. Are you Irish?
Today I'm Irish. In New York, St. Patrick's Day, you're Irish, just like Passover. New York, you're Jewish.
Wow.
Cheers.
I got to tell you, seeing that, I'm amazed. The people in Crimea are really celebrating this annexation thing. They're really happy.
Yeah.
Watch the vodka, people. Like, it's just like, the girl was from Jersey, huh? Yeah. I love that. She was my favorite one.
Can we clarify that that was at noon?
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't 5 o'clock.
No,
it's a good point.
No, we went out giving them alcohol and shoving a microphone in their face, not a whiskey bottle.
I did see what looked like 10-year-olds in those shots, though. I mean, some of those children were very, very
They were
young.
delivering
I'm
the
concerned.
kegs. They weren't drinking them. That was a
I'm
whole
concerned.
different
Camille, to be honest, I'm quite tall.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm like Gandalf to the Hobbit.
Did it make you want to re-legal or prohibit alcohol?
Yes. Well, actually, no. I take that back. I wanted to prohibit stupidity.
It's the one day of the year, like, where people pretend to be Irish and, like, the Irish pretend not to be offended by the horrible stereotype, right? It's like, and it's also the only day where you can, like, pinch somebody at work and not get sent to HR.
Now, the bagpipes are Scottish, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so that's kind of my thing.
They're sort of our
Scots-Jamaican.
yeah, you and I are both half Scottish.
Yeah,
Kenny, I'm noticing you're looking well rested. You had a disco nap before the show, didn't you? Confess.
I did.
You did, because you look like you're having fun out there.
I didn't have that much fun. No, there's no way I would have been able to contain my excitement if I had joined them in the revelry. I had to keep my wits about me.
So what's worse, St. Patrick's Day parade in Midtown Manhattan or that, what's the Santa thing called?
SantaCon.
SantaCon.
Tough call.
I think it's definitely the St. Patrick's Day parade.
The St. Patrick revelers, actually not violent or aggressive. They were really happy, but other than our cameraman being punched in the groin a few times, I was fine.
It was noon, so by 4 o'clock it probably looked a little
It's
bit
just
different.
an angry leprechaun. That happens, you know.
Yeah.
And one guy walked by with brown spots and a shirt, and I turned to Anthony Fisher, our producer, and said, "Do you think that's chocolate ice cream?" And he said, "No, that's blood."
Oh, my God.
And it dried, so it happened earlier, and he stayed with it. Good for him. That's commitment right there.
Totally.
Yeah, so we either put whiskey on his hand or in his belly. Who knows? All right, well, thank you, guys. Paul, where can we see you next?
I am going to be May 1st through the 3rd at the Comedy Castle. It is a castle.
Indeed.
In Royal Oak, Michigan, so just outside of Detroit, May 1st through the 3rd.
Well, someplace that royal needs its own castle and a good liege.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Mercurio will be in the house. All right, well, all you want to do is rent out your place to get a few bucks, but what happens when your participation in the shared economy has you sharing your apartment with a full-blown plus-size sweaty orgy? This is what's riling up our dear Camille. Let's see if we can keep it together next. Welcome back to the Independents. You've heard of the shared economy, right? People renting out their apartments and homes to vetted social networkers where renters and rentees rate each other. And the mutual need for positive reviews usually helps keep people on their best behavior. Most of the time. These are great deals for all parties involved. Take a look at this ad.
We definitely like to find out the nature of their visit, or is it for vacation? Is it for work?
It kind of helps us as well with what they expect out of our place. We are protecting ourselves.
That's right. One guy rented out his apartment in New York City to a man and his parents, or so he thought, but it turned into a corpulent orgy, and it's the subject of tonight's Keeping It Camille.
This is an unfortunate, informative, possibly inspiring tale of some non-existent in-laws, a lot of sex that didn't happen, and Airbnb. And interestingly, this guy named Ari decides to rent out his apartment. Guy tells him, it's going to be me and my in-laws coming in for a quiet weekend. Turns out that this gentleman, David, was actually planning to have an orgy in his apartment, a XXX themed party, according to a tweet that later revealed it. It's a BBW orgy extravaganza. You'll have to tune in for the after show to find out what BBW actually stands for. Now, this plan that David was hatching was actually foiled, and it never took place. But unfortunately for Ari, he finds out that he's got about $68,000 worth of damages. His apartment has been kind of ransacked, and he loses the lease on his apartment.
He was evicted.
It sucks. It sucks for him. Now, the silver lining here is that Airbnb, a company that has
Who
been
said parties like this still exist, and you can find out about them on Twitter, right?
Yes, that is one part of the silver lining for people who are interested.
Sharing a lot more in your economy.
But there's another part as well. I mean, these sorts of arrangements happen. And they will and they happen before Airbnb, and they'll happen after Airbnb. People rent out their apartments sometimes to strangers in a variety of ways. Airbnb actually protects most of the participants there. They don't indemnify them against all losses, but Airbnb quickly turned around and gave this guy about $28,000, put him up in a hotel for a week, and they're still going through the proceedings to see what other damages might be there. New York has harassed Airbnb for some time now, mostly because they charge about 15% taxes on hotel stays here in New York City.
It's very expensive.
Not because
I
they're
have stayed
protecting
before I got a place here. I stayed in several Airbnb places before I worked for Fox.
And most Airbnb experiences are actually pretty easy and straightforward. I have used Airbnb at least 5 or 6 times. Great experiences for all but one occasion. So I think that sucks for him, but most Airbnb experiences are good. And this guy, again, could have been out a lot more than this. So there it is.
And the state of New York needs to stop hassling them. They've been rifling through their records, and they've been harassing the company for 3 years.
Trying to break it down. Let people share. What do you got against that? Wherever you are, whatever you're putting into your body, whether it's Jameson's or Guinness, you pervert. Come on, I meant the booze. Make sure you get home safely, and when you do, you can watch us again. We are 32% more entertaining when you're drunk. Science proves it. And make sure you watch tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Akon is going to be here in the studio. That's 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Right now, go to our webpage for our live after-hour show, foxbusiness.com/The Independents. For Matt Welch and Camille Foster, I'm Kennedy. Good night.